This is Caesar Walker, the cool, calm, collected one.
And I'm Ronnie Gatry, the emotional one.
And we are the Tipping Point Podcast, your source for the black male's perspective.
Tipping Point Podcast.
DJ Envy and wife Gia talked about their bedroom struggles while discussing their new book, Real Life, Real Love. Discuss or trash?
I want to hear about this. I'm an Envy guy,
So Envy was kind of a trending topic this week. I think they were doing an interview with the Shade Room, and his wife, of course, Envy has kind of been, they've been in like news in the past because of his infidelity with his wife or whatever. And they talked about, in a sense, a lack of communication as it pertains to sexual needs. And for the longest of time, they got married young, not knowing what her sexual needs are. For a long time, she would fake it in the bedroom, faked it for actually 10 years, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And one day she just kind of burst his bubble that he wasn't meeting her sexual needs. And it was just kind of like a gut punch to him. And I guess it led to like a downward spiral in terms of, him stepping out and stuff like that. I guess ego bruised or whatnot. I guess my question to you guys, because I don't know if they still do a podcast, but I know they have done a podcast in the past where they talk about relationships and love and stuff like that. So a lot of people was like, why is she, emasculating him, talking about his, him not being able to meet her needs, da, 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 da. And I guess my question for you guys is there too much to share? When you're trying to be transparent, is there a line there when you're sharing personal stuff about intimate things about your marriage?
Sharing them in the public?
Yes.
Okay, so the easy answer is, well, if both parties are okay with it, then yeah. But then there's the other side of it, and I think with their platform and how they can serve to make a positive impact and get people talking about this. Because it's something we don't talk about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I see the pros and cons in it. I see both sides, and I don't know. I guess my answer is very balanced here. I'm not against it. I'm not against it either.
So no stance. Got it. Black, what do you think?
On the surface, it seems like it's something that's being used. You said they have a book coming out to sell books.
But is it okay in terms of a marriage to share stuff like that?
I'm kind of with you. It depends on if they're okay with it or not. If they're okay putting it out there and accepting what comes back in return, go for it.
I'm pretty open, but there are certain things I'm just not going to talk about. That's going to be one of them. Now, I'm comfortable going to my wife and saying, "Hey, you okay with me sharing this on a podcast?" I already know what the answer is going to be, but yeah, like I know for me, I'm probably not going to talk about that, not in depth.
Yeah, and I think Black makes. I mean, that was going to be my point. Black is. We have to put it in perspective. They have a book coming out. And so you gotta you gotta give people something to make them want to know more, right? In the book. And so even when people have something to promote, I mean, they leak the juiciest of details. And so in my opinion, it could have very well been strategic. I do think, if, my wife and I, we discussed this week and I said that, you can communicate and convey a point without having to get so deep into the details to illustrate it, right? And so the real issue there was just communication, right? And so you don't have to talk, and I think depending on what your brand is, you want to make sure you want to be able to have the best of both worlds, where you're able to sell whatever product you're pushing, but protect your brand and image as well. And so you don't want to be so heavily on one side that you look, funny style on the other side. And right. So you always have to, if I'm sharing something about my wife, I want to make sure, even though it's a real scenario, I want to show her in a positive light to where people lose sight of what the big point was, right? Like, man, is your wife crazy or something? Like, you know what I mean? You just got to be cautious about stuff like that because people will take it and run everywhere with it. And again, if you're not ready for that, you need to count the cost before you go public with intimate details about y'all's relationship.
For sure.
What's up?
So you married guys. Early on in your marriages, were there some things that it took you a while to get comfortable sharing with your wife? Like, I don't know, like 10 years of faking orgasm, but like just something that like you just held on to for a while till you felt comfortable within that relationship to share it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it goes both ways as well, because you're married to that person, you love that person, but you're still having to grow, right? And you're still earning each other's trust along the way, right? You want to say, yeah, I trust you, but you still got some things, like oftentimes you end up sharing things about yourself you probably haven't shared with anyone. So it's not like there is a precedent set for you to share some of this deep stuff. And so that can be tough. And, you know, as you grow together, that person shows you that, hey, I love you and I'm with you. Oftentimes it becomes easier when y'all go through stuff together and you tend to see each other at each other's worst. And the fact that you can love each other, you know, you still committed to each other through that. You still, you know what I mean? It doesn't change your commitment. It's like, this person really cares. I think it takes time. Just like anything else with trust, it takes time to develop with that person because you're learning each other and growing together.
I guess that's why, like, was it if you can get through like the first 5 years of your marriage, you good or something like that, or is it something like that? Or
Yeah, I don't believe that, but yeah.
Oh.
You don't believe that?
No.
Okay.
Well, I know for me, we got through the first 3, and I know I was the culprit of most, if not all, the issues. So, I mean, I think there's some truth in that. Is what I meant to say. I'm interested to hear why you don't think that's the thing. 7-year itch.
Yeah,
You don't believe in none of that.
I don't believe in that.
I'm listening.
I mean, people still get divorced after 7 years.
True.
20.
Yeah, like, I mean, I understand the concept because it's rocky, but you have a lot of people who just, for whatever reason, just aren't willing to change and aren't willing to leave either. So just because you're there married, I mean, I just don't think I don't think time heals all. I think work heals all.
Ooh. Okay. Another bar from Walker.
So I don't time, no. A lot of people get bitter with time if they're not working on themselves.
And you said bitter, not better.
Correct.
Okay.
So I don't give time that much credit. I think it's what the two of you choose to do in that marriage that determines where y'all end up.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Keep Your Point Podcast.